At the moment, you're getting in touch about this proposal to increase the cost of parking in the City Council's car parks in Cambridge by around 9%. An anonymous comment has come in from someone who's quite angry. So what if they haven't increased prices for 4 years, they write. How about Cambridge City Council demonstrate and seek 9% savings in-house? Either reduce councillors' salary by 9% or make efficient decisions which will save 9%. Councils need to be smarter in terms of efficiency. Of course, one of the council's arguments is that through the pandemic for 4 years now, the car park prices have not increased. Kathy in Newmarket says, I don't shop in Cambridge anymore because the parking charges are awful. The only reason I come to Cambridge now is when I need to go to Addenbrooke's. I will prefer to go to Bury St Edmunds if I can't get things in Newmarket. So are you already choosing to shop elsewhere because Cambridge City Council's car parks are too pricey? We're looking at this across the hour. The increase in car parking charges could come in next spring. It would mean, for example, that a 5-hour stay at the Grafton Centre car park would cost you around £27, obviously before you have, covered the fuel costs to get into Cambridge and bought anything, assuming on your shopping trip you would like to buy one or two things. Let's chat to Wendy Blythe. She's chair of the Federation of Cambridge Residents Associations. Morning, Wendy.
Morning.
So you're coming at it from the residents' perspective. What do you make to these plans?
Well, I think it's really interesting listening to Katie Thornborough earlier talking about the fact that this is part of an overall package of measures designed to get people to come in by public transport, which is good. And sorry.
I hope you're not missing an important call, or is that an alarm to tell you to talk to us?
Exactly. I think that the point that she made about that it's in line with inflation, 9%, that's perfectly reasonable. Yeah, that's right. I think what I would say is that overall, I think communications haven't been very good about this, and I think we're hearing a lot of concern from a whole wide spectrum of people who are really worried about, for example, how they're going to get into work. Low-income people who are really concerned about how they're going to get into work. When you've got this sort of increase in car park charges, along with that, it doesn't signal, it just doesn't come across very well. And the other aspect about it is that I think you're seeing what you're seeing enormously is a sense of distrust of the bodies organising these measures, the Greater Cambridge Partnership, concerns about the council. There's a lot of feeling of that out there. I mean, people want decent public transport, and they want it now. They want regular, decent bus services, and they don't want. They're not prepared to sign up to some kind of vision of decent bus services when their experience is bus services are cut, operators change, etc., etc. Do you know what I mean? It's what's happening now. That's why, and people are saying about all these measures, why is everything so complicated? And they're saying to me, why, for example, they highlight money being spent on huge infrastructure projects, these kind of off-highway bus routes, Camborne to Cambridge, which actually is costing £200 million. Why aren't we spending that on decent, a fleet of, mini buses going around the city, decent bus services now?
And you mentioned timing. Yeah. We're in a cost of living crisis at the moment, undeniably. I mean, is that impacting how people are reacting to this in your residents' association?
I think it is impacting enormously. Most city centre retail, hospitality and leisure workers, as the CEO of Cambridge Bid has highlighted, are paid around 10 to £11 an hour. So, any increases in prices are going to impact them. And a lot of these changes that are being brought in do seem to be impacting low-income workers, and I think it's significant that a Sunday Times report on, best places to live for the last few years is not included Cambridge. And in fact, in one report, highlighted as the joy squeezed out of the city centre, out of town car parks.
And actually, I mean, you say the focus not necessarily being on people who are already struggling. One of the focuses is on installing more electric car charging points, which is admirable, but arguably a lot of the people who are going to be affected, there's no way they're going to be affording an electric car.
there's no way they're going to be able to afford an electric car. That's right. I think there should be, we should be thinking really hard about, that there is the council in partnership with the combined authorities funding. There's a city portrait which is being drawn up, about a vision for Cambridge, and how is all this going to fit into that? Is these changes, these proposals, which are impacting some of the most vulnerable people. Will
the free parking overnight make a difference to residents?
Well, I think in terms of free parking, I think that was a very interesting and telling point. I mean, there are plans to make, as I understand it, the city centre an event location, which also relates to the proposed redevelopment of the Cambridge Market Square. And in fact, a project has been, funding has been given to a project which is looking at generating income from what's happening in city centre access, which will generate income for city council cultural services. Now, what we haven't seen is the working paper, which is on the planned events on the city centre as an event location. And a lot of people would like to know what is in that.
The council has argued, we were talking to Katie earlier, this is the first price hike in 4 years. It does bring in valuable revenue, and you've spoken about the hopes that will increase bus services and improve bus services, which obviously people are keen on. They can't keep the costs the same forever. So is there an argument that we just have to accept this is inevitable?
Well, I think, as I said at the beginning, those price increases are in line with inflation. That's perfectly fair. And in that respect, if there are costs, that is and that depends on whether you think you should charge for car parks, etc. That's obviously another point there. But I think people are looking very hard at what is the vision for the city centre? What are the plans? And how inclusive is that? And is that about who's actually benefiting from these plans? For example, a lot of people, market traders in the city centre, feel squeezed out. There's a lot of people, low-income people, college staff who feel, postgrads who live in villages, etc. There's a lot of feeling about concerns and anxiety, and the communications about this is not being very good.
And a consultation is underway, so the idea is that we can all have our say, and hopefully the council say they'll listen. Do you hope they'll look again at the proposal?
The thing is, I have to say, on the consultation front, there was a big consultation on Cambridge Market Square redevelopment. Where is the analysis of that consultation?
So you've never seen it?
I haven't seen it. Lots of concerns expressed about the city centre and traders and everything. Where was the analysis?
So
people are feeling, you see, people often, people say, do the consultation, and then what you do get is someone saying, well, it's been a very successful consultation, we've had 900 responses. What they don't say is that all those people objected, as for example, with the Camborne to Cambridge busway.
So you feel like, actually, they say if there's an overwhelming response that people don't like this, they will consider that and potentially increase the charges by less than 9%. I think
people are looking. I think people are looking at what's various consultations that have taken place, and they've wondered how much of their views have been taken on board.
Do you think there's any?
Quite like to see a sort of analysis of how much people's views are actually taken on board with these things. And I'm saying, in terms of, as I say, with the car park increases, that is in line with inflation. That is, perfectly reasonable in that respect. It is in line with inflation. So, but the point is that this is, as Katie said, this is part of an overall package of transport changes and reforms, etc., plans. So this has to be considered along the lines of all those other things.
Well, thank you very much for your time this morning. Wendy Blythe, Chair of the Federation of Cambridge Residents Associations. We are going to be hearing the thoughts of local businesses shortly here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. I am loving your comments on this. If you have something to say about car parking charges at the City Council's car parks already, the thought of them going up by 9%, the idea that parking at the Grafton Centre car park for 5 hours could cost you £27, do get in touch. One of the focuses, obviously, for the council is putting in more EV charge points to encourage more people to have electric vehicles and charge them. Nick in Hemmingford Grey, why don't they just charge EV users more to park in the city? If this increases to pay for more EV parking points, he doesn't want to be paying higher prices, seeing as he doesn't drive an electric vehicle. Sheila in Cambridge, I must say I've never heard so much rubbish regarding the parking charges. Councillor Thornborough was totally unconvincing, only a couple of pounds extra. To her, perhaps, but for some people, this is unacceptable. I rarely use the parking. I'm sorry, but Cambridge is on the brink of being broken. My Cambridge, I am angry, not acceptable. Is that how you feel? Or are you actually a fan of there being more electric charging points, hopefully more money put into better bus services? Would you be more likely to come into Cambridge if there are more frequent and better bus routes? Do get in touch with us. You can text 81333, starting your message CAM, 08000 85 95 96 to call, or email me in the studio, thunderfairy@bbc.co.uk.